50 years, iodine has been phased out of our staple foods and replaced with the halogen bromine, a practice now banned in nations around the world. Guess what else is in the halogen family? Fluoride. Ladies and gentlemen, Alex Jones here. In 1924, the federal government did the right thing and encouraged salt producers to add iodine. It's the good halogen on the periodic table, and the results are on record. Reports documented a 15-point IQ increase in areas that had previously been deficient in iodine. Bottom line, iodine is important. Unbound, clean, in a glycerin base. Nascent iodine was the answer for myself and my family. You will find Survival Shield Nascent Iodine exclusively at InfoWarsLife.com. InfoWars Life Survival Shield Nascent Iodine isn't just for emergencies. I take it every day. That's InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. The globalists have controlled the mainstream media for a long time, but now they're expanding and making the weaponization even more vicious and deceptive. All the major networks are state-run.
We are partnering this year with the NFL.
The NFL has become a political weapon against the Second Amendment and pushes Obamacare. MSNBC tells us that our children belong to the state.
We have to break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families and recognize that kids belong to whole communities.
It is more important than ever to realize that we are not the alternative media. We are the true media. The establishment dinosaur press is dying.
We are in an information war, and we are losing that war.
Join us at InfoWarsNews.com and PrisonPlanet.tv. Members can share their memberships with up to 11 people. By subscribing, you will literally be buying war bonds in the info war to expand our operation in the face of the tyrants. Join us at PrisonPlanet.tv.
A chemical spill contaminating the water supply in 9 West Virginia counties.
This year alone, over 300,000 people in West Virginia had their drinking water contaminated.
What are the health effects of having these drugs in our drinking water?
It's forced medical treatment without the consent of residents.
My friends, water filtration is one of the most basic actions you can take to protect you and your family from the harmful toxins and heavy metals in your tap water.
On average, the county says it sprays with the glyphosate at least once a week.
Few filters cut out the glyphosate that is found in water supplies worldwide. Remove pesticides, herbicides, chloramines, hydrofluorosilicic acid, sodium hexafluorosilicate.
Fluoride, it is in tea, it's in coffee, it's in water, it's in bread, it's in toothpaste.
It is our responsibility to protect our families. The establishment's not going to do it. It's time to take action. It's time to filter our water. Visit InfoWarsStore.com and use promo code WATER to get 10% off their entire family of incredible products. Or call toll-free 888-253-3139.
Crashing through the lies and disinformation. It's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
We're going to do a video report on this sometime next week. My friend has all the documentation. He bought a $3,000 used 1993 Chevy pickup truck. And he went in to get the license and registration, and they said, your truck is worth $18,000. And he said, no, it's listed at about $3,000 in the Kelley Blue Book, and that's what I paid for it. I need something to haul stuff around. It's a junky old truck, but, runs okay. And they said, no, you owe us, $6,000. We've got all the documentation. We're going to show that. He's at $5,000 or $6,000. So he just went to a DPS office in Houston, and they said, yeah, this is worth $3,000 and you owe us $400. But still, he didn't even really own his truck. License, registration, all this stuff. That didn't used to happen on your transportation, on your horse and buggy. Travel is not a privilege, it's a right. But they've lied to you now, and people think it's a privilege because the cops say so. It's a privilege to engage in commerce on publicly paid for roads and to have an 18-wheeler. That's how it all started in the 20s, was they had heavier trucks traveling, and they argued to the public, oh, they're tearing up the roads. You're having to pay for it. Let's make them get license and registration because they're in commerce. And the states were able to constitutionally do that. Now you're in commerce. See, the governor of Nevada has now come out and said this is intimidation, the Fed should back off, and that he does have the grazing rights and the water rights. Folks, let me explain how big this is. when you have the surface rights and the feds come along when they're there 140 years ago, and the feds come along 140 years later and say, well, we just say this is all federal land out here because nobody ever officially got it because nobody wanted it. You have the grazing rights since 1877. We're just not going to let you do it, or you can pay us a bunch of money. And this is all about Agenda 21 on record. Get the book. We sell it. Behind the Green Mask or My Film Endgame at InfoWarsStore.com. Give it to people and then it supports the broadcast. We can have our reporters go out and cover things like this. It's very expensive to do this. And give it to all your county commissioners, your city council, so they understand. Most of them are not criminals. They just are ignorant. And they think, wow, the feds have arrived. We've all got to kiss their butt. Just 10 years ago, the feds still got permission when they came into a town or city. Now they don't even do that. Now they're ordering everyone around. I've covered Bilderberg, sitting there with a microphone, peacefully sitting there, and Hillary and Obama come into the deal before they was even elected, and guy points an MP5 Heckler machine gun at me because he had an earpiece and a tie, and he thinks he's a secret agent and a movie star. He's a narcissistic mental patient, Secret Service agent wanting to intimidate a bunch of reporters standing there showing where Obama was at. When the media was saying, where's Obama? No one knows. We knew. We were there. They were making the deal that she would step down, he would be president. We're the real media, folks. We went out and covered this. We covered this over a week and a half ago. Drudge covered it in the big, powerful alternative media, and now it's everywhere. And I'm not saying, oh, look, we covered and broke this story, because locals broke it. The point is that it's all happening to us, and we need to show we're the real media. We're the people's media. Mainstream media is saying, Bundy claims he crazily owns this land that's federal. Isn't he nuts? Knowing people who aren't ranchers don't know about this, don't know that 80-something% of the West is federal, don't know 90% of Nevada is federal, don't know they just power grabbed it and said, well, we administer it now, but you can still have your grazing rights. So I want to go back to his son to give him the floor, Ammon Bundy, who was tasered, and he's going to show us the wounds from that. And I've seen the video on the local news, the blood pouring out. But when they tasered him, folks ripped the taser out. He was just telling the story of one of the young locals that's gone down to the river. When you're out in the desert, that's where everybody hangs out. On the BLM, quote, land, 90% of the state. They're outside the town, 600,000 acres. And here came the feds racing down to attack him. And they almost had a confrontation. And that's what's going to happen, folks. They're going to beat up a kid. They're going to beat up a woman. They're going to shoot a kid in the back. And I'm telling you, all hell's going to break loose. And I don't want that to happen. We're beating the globalists right now politically. We are hurting them on every front. They want to get a physical confrontation going. They've got the billions of rounds of ammo, the armored vehicles, all of it. They're going to lose that civil war in the first wave. But then they're going to bring in the UN troops after. And by the way, folks, I'm not kidding. This is official State Department plan 7277. This is NLE 09 and NLE 14 that we got that was secret, where it talks about using foreign troops against Americans. This is all real. Now I want to go back to David Knight to finish talking to one of the ranchers who's been physically attacked. And I guess it was his other brother, what was it, that got arrested for no reason and his head slammed on the ground and taken to Las Vegas. Break down, sir, finish up your story about obviously cows dying, or what was in the back of the dump truck, and the over 250 armed people. I mean, get him to go over all of it, David Knight, and then I want you, David, to break down your take on all this. David Knight.
Alex, we're here with Ammon Bundy, and he's the son of Cliven Bundy, and he was just telling us before the break that they were concerned about this convoy they saw because they had seen a lot of cows that were obviously had been separated from their calves. This is calving season. They're concerned that they're running these calves hard. They're running the cows hard. They're afraid that they're dying. So they wanted to see what was inside this truck, and that was a group of demonstrators. Let me show you first his where he was tasered, right here on his neck, and you were also tasered elsewhere, right?
I was tasered on my arm, and then they hit my chest and my stomach. And
you tore it out.
Yeah, either I tore it out or some other people that were with me tore them out. As they were shooting them, they tear them out. And
well, tell us what led up to this, and we want to talk about because this is a real key thing. This is the key point about this is about their water rights, and that was what this ultimately turned out to be about. But tell us about the incident leading up to that.
All right, so they're coming down. There was 14 units. They were protecting this backhoe and this dump truck, and we stopped the convoy in the intent to see what was in the back of that dump truck, and they immediately came out armed, and 13 units with 2 men and dogs each, at least 2 men and dogs, fully armed, came out and began to resist us from being able to see what was in the back of that truck. And it got quite heated. It was, pretty much just verbal for a while. And then one of the Rangers came up behind a 59-year-old woman and body slammed her. And after that, it literally exploded into, escalated tremendously.
Slammed her into the ground.
Yeah, from behind. You watch the video. It's from behind.
Yeah.
And then there was a continued confrontation forward, and then they started to tase me. They hit me, and I ripped the first ones off, or actually, it was a combination. There were several people who ripped them off, and then they tased me again, and we ripped them off again. Then they tased me again, and we ripped them off again. And anyway, it got to the point where we pretty much were backing them down. They were trying to sick their dogs on us, and we were...
About how many people did you have?
We had about 50 people, and there was about probably around 30 of them.
Well, armed.
Yeah, fully armed, and basically kept pressing that they needed to get in their truck, they needed to get out of here, and we were able to push them far enough that we did get a look in the back of the truck, and finally pushed them out of there and made them leave.
What did you learn when you looked in the truck?
Well, we thought that it possibly going to be a rendering truck. They're going to have animals in there, but we did not find that. What we found was that they're destroying all the water pipes and all the water tanks that are throughout this land that have been here over 100 years.
Destroying the infrastructure.
Right. Sorry, Alex?
They're destroying the infrastructure just like Stalin did in Poland and Ukraine. This is classic war against our infrastructure. NAFTA, GATT, all of it is to shut us down. It was reported yesterday by the LA Times, ranchers are shutting down nationwide. Beef prices are the highest ever recorded. Almost all the ranchers I know have been shut down, even though beef prices are the highest ever because of Big Agra having a bottleneck on the production of the meat packing. And so I want people to understand, this is the shutdown of America. This is Cloward and Piven to bankrupt us we're seeing right now. If you want welfare, you want to come here and have your babies for free, taxpayers will pay for it. If you want to come here and vote to take our guns, you can come into the country. But if you've got the land and the water tanks and the water pipes for 100 years, where the windmills, where this gentleman's great-great-granddaddy set it up, you're not allowed to do that. It will be destroyed by the criminals. Go ahead. Back to David Knight.
I want Ammon to talk a little bit about those water rights, because those water rights... Yes, I wanted Ammon to talk a little bit about those water rights, because those water rights are very much like your property rights. You register your property rights at the county, state level. It's not at the federal level. And they can come in, if we're going to allow this to happen to these ranchers, they're going to do that to us individually. Talk a little bit about the water rights and what they try to do there, because they are destroying infrastructure, not only for you, but for the wildlife that's out here, right?
That's correct. So those water rights were either purchased or inherited from, and originally came from homesteading. Okay, and they're throughout this land here, and we have done improvements over the last 100 years and piped those lines down all through this country with tanks and pipes, and the wildlife and the cattle have used that water for 100 plus years. They're tearing those out now. The reason they're doing that is because that is the one thing that ties those rights to this land. See, the grazing rights are also tied to the water. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if they have any, if we have any legal right besides just state taking over its sovereignty, which obviously we want to happen, but it's tied to those waters, and they know that, and that's why when they're tearing these out and they're coming down, that's why one dump truck and a backhoe has 13 armed vehicles on it because they did not want us to see what was in the back of that because they are destroying those waters. Now
they know where the critical points are to take our rights, to take our property.
Absolutely, it must be. Why in the world would they have